Prossima presentazione, Morgan. Morgan Bowling è il Director Industry di Seeq. Morgan ha una laurea in ingegneria chimica e vanta un decennio di esperienza lavorando presso le principali società petrolifere e del gas. Nel suo ruolo attuale si occupa di accompagnare le aziende nel percorso di trasformazione digitale nel settore petrolchimico e del gas. Thank you, Morgan.
I have no idea what you just said about me. Just to introduce myself and my team at Seeq. So I'm our Director of Industry at Seeq, and so what that means is we have a group of industry experts that come out of industry and are dedicated to each of our large verticals that we sell into. And so that's supported by oil and gas, which is the role I just came out of, and I'm still supporting our oil and gas and energy business. We have pharmaceuticals, we have chemicals, and we hope to grow to power and utilities in that position in the future as well. And for those of you who have worked with Seeq, one of our founding principles is to make sure we have vast industry experience. And so when you're working with your account team at Seeq, you'll find your analytics engineers that do your deployments, and your customer success managers typically come out of industry. And we do that on purpose because we want to have experienced the types of challenges and problems that you're experiencing. So my specific experience is I started my career at ExxonMobil as a process engineer. So I worked in a variety of refining and petrochemical facilities. And so I've seen firsthand what a difference Seeq can make on the daily workflows of engineers and teams that are working in our manufacturing facilities. For my presentation today, Jessica asked me to talk about advanced analytics and process manufacturing, and then I saw the agenda, and I saw all of your great presentations and speakers that we had today, and so I decided that it's better to hear from you all on the use cases that you're putting into action at your facilities. So I decided to take a little bit of a turn and shift more towards the culture and the adoption, and what it takes to implement a digital solution like Seeq very successfully. And Jessica's presentation started this morning talking a little bit about the workforce and what kind of a transition the workforce is under over the next 10, 20, 30 years as we transition into a more millennial-based workforce. It talked about how a lot of our companies have made these net zero pledges for 2030 and 2050, and we don't really have a way to get there right now. It talked a little bit about how many digital transformation projects that have occurred or started thus far have failed. And so I want to spend this 20 minutes talking a little bit about mine and Seeq's experience around how to approach the culture and adoption issue when you're trying to roll out some sort of an analytics solution. When I look at the barriers that we tend to face in terms of adopting digital transformation projects, advanced analytics solutions, we typically can split them into three different areas: skill set, governance, and return. And that's what I'll focus on today. The first part here, overcoming challenges in skill sets. So I hope that what you've seen thus far is that Seeq is for more than just that operations engineer at the facility. It's for operators. It can be for managers. It can be for data scientists. And when you pick digital solutions and you implement them at your facility, you have to make sure that you meet your end users where they are, and that you offer a solution that caters to each of those different personas. And so I think we heard one of the presentations this morning, and they mentioned, I don't know Python, I don't know data science tools, and I can still use Seeq. And that is one of our large objectives. And when you look into our training programs, we actually have training programs for managers, for operators, for engineers, and for data scientists. So we focus on offering to that skill set that you want to have so that you can get value out of the application. It can be very difficult if a team is picking an application that's very Python, AI, ML focused when you don't have that skill set in your organization. So making sure that you're looking at one that provides you different options for everyone that needs to get value out of the tool. The next thing is teach analytics, not software. I joined Seeq 5 years ago as an analytics engineer, and I got to do a lot of large-scale adoption rollouts. And at a lot of those large-scale adoption rollouts, I would go give training, and people would be creating new analyses in Seeq, or maybe moving analyses out of Excel in Seeq. And we'd be doing the calculation, and they'd say, that result doesn't match the decimal point to the 100th of what my Excel spreadsheet says. And when people would get there, that was when you knew that they weren't focused on actually solving the challenge or solving the problem. They were just focused on software and getting down to that specific number. So when you're working with folks and you're doing adoption and training at your facilities, making sure that you focus on how they do analytics, what types of problems they're trying to solve. Real business use cases are going to make it stick and be more resonating with your organization than just trying to duplicate something you did in a different tool. The last thing that I like to mention here is, in order for any of these rollouts to be successful, you have to gain trust from the organization early. Oftentimes I'll meet with customers and they don't want to, I don't know if this is an analogy here, but we say low-hanging fruit in the States. They don't want to start with that easy problem that's easy to go get and go grab. They want to start with the most sophisticated problem that they haven't been able to solve in 25 years and is going to take all of these different tools put together, integrations, workflows. And we often see when people try to go to that end of the spectrum at the very beginning, that fail. And the reason is it's very complex, it takes a lot of effort, and you tend to lose the buy-in of the organization along the way. So my recommendation to you would be to start small and start by solving those smaller problems. And as you do that, you'll gain more and more trust in the organization, and then you can start experimenting on those more difficult problems. But you have to gain the trust of the organization early, or else you're going to lose the path and not be successful in your initiatives. I want to touch a little bit on analytics training, and I know it can be really difficult to invest in the time to do the training, especially when our employees are engineers that are trying to keep equipment running, meeting limits, meeting plans every single day. It really is crucial to do this training. Someone asked this morning, what type of timing or does it take to become able to use Seeq? And so our base training, we do offer a small boot camp that is a couple hours, but our foundations training is about 9 hours over a couple of different days. What we've seen is customers that invest in that training, and I'm going to talk about governance in a minute, but that invest in that training in a programmatic way to all of their different organizations, they see that business value amplify significantly. Oftentimes in the training, we'll have customers that actually find a way to look at their data that they haven't been able to in the past and justify their cost of Seeq in that individual training that they had. So taking the time, taking the structure to invest in the training and getting that skill set built is really important to your organization being successful. The more chances you have at finding higher value use cases, the more people you get working on those use cases, the more sophisticated they come, and the more value you have. When we move on from this skill set, I want to look a little bit at management and governance. And this is something that our team can definitely help you with. As I mentioned, we've done a lot of global rollouts. We have a great customer success organization in the room, and their whole job is to get you on this roadmap and help you through this journey. The first part here is, as the workforce does transition to be more millennial, selecting technologies with intuitive and captivating UI and UX. You want your teams and your engineers to be curious, and you want the solution they're using to help them be more curious. You want it to excite them. So make sure you're selecting something that excites them about their work every day, especially in manufacturing, where we're starting to struggle to attract people into these roles. This one might not make sense because it says centralize and decentralize, so two opposites, technology and solution ownership. What that means is it's important to have a central strategy, a central rollout plan. Some of the most successful things we've seen is to have a central community of practice about Seeq in your organization, where different business units or different sites can share about what they're doing, because it gives the other sites the idea to do the same thing. And they might be able to use a template to do that same thing very quickly and easily. So organize the training and the rollout and the sharing through central support, but also empower your organizations to be decentralized. Find those early adopters and those early champions at your site and let them go evangelize with the people on the ground that trust them, the technology. So give them, empower them the ability to go into those organizations at their site where they are the expert and get everything rolling and going. The last thing here is embrace change leadership. So change is hard. Adopting technologies is hard. It takes a lot of activation energy just to get started. And because of that, we as organizations in that centralized or that leadership position have to reward and recognize early adopters. Because the more we celebrate and we reward and we recognize those early adopters, even when they have failures, successes are great, right? We all want to have big business wins, but even when they have failures, but they had the courage to try something that someone else wouldn't, make sure we celebrate that culture of innovation in our teams so that others know it's okay to try something new, and even if it doesn't work. A few adoption success stories. So we break this into 4 different categories. So rapid, global, at scale, and repeatability. The first thing I want to mention is our team has done this before and we are here to help. So repeatability. We've trained over 350 global organizations. Our team has given 2,000 trainings delivered. I personally used to do that. We focus on working with highly skilled partners that can help offer you localized services and support. And at Seeq, our team and our partners have trained over 25,000 people globally. So we've been doing this consistently for about 6 years. Seeq has about 250 different customers, and we've really nailed what these skills and what this training looks like. If you have an LMS, a learning management system, or a track for new engineers at your company, this global at-scale examples there are good examples of companies that have invested in that centralized management. They've put a rollout plan out there, and they've embedded Seeq in their onboarding for new engineers. And so when you do that, you'll start to see numbers like this. 600 people across 18 countries, and we gave them, with the help of our partners, training in over 7 different languages. At ExxonMobil, a large oil and gas company, we've trained over 3,000 people in 11 countries and 50 sites. And when you do that, Seeq or other digital solution that you're using becomes a part of the way they work. You have to make sure that these applications are a part of the way they work, and they're not just one other option that they can use whenever they want. So when you invest in this large-scale training and adoption, it really helps ingrain what you've chosen to invest in into the workflow. The last part about this is, and if you've worked with our Seeq teams, we talk a lot about rapid ROI, and I will mention rapid ROI again. This isn't something that takes years. So you can see with Chemours, a chemical company, we had an 84% user increase over a 4-month rollout period. And the last thing I want to point on this slide is the investment in Seeq certified super users. Seeq's goal is to come in with our partners and empower your teams to learn analytics in a new way and get value out of our data. But it's really important to have those experts in your own organization that can help and champion that rollout. So we have a full program that's built to roll out those certified super users in your facilities with the support of our team. Let's see. Okay, 2 slides left. The last thing I want to touch on, and maybe the most important, but I think these are all very important, is we have to have a way to capture value from the use cases we're doing. We have to have a way to capture the value because that helps us as managers justify our investment in the technology. We have to have a way to capture value because that helps gain that trust from our organizations in the technology that we've adopted. And so what you can see here on a couple of the slides, and I tried to customize this towards the organizations we have in the room and the organizations that, or the types of problems we're trying to solve. You can see that these are big numbers that our customers are solving for. Allnex, reduce their steam consumption at their facility by 15%. Abbott, generated their wastewater by 0.4%. Chevron Phillips Chemical, over 100x ROI. Honeywell UOP focused on that cultural aspect of change, and they gained over $1.5 million of employee efficiency each year. What I think is most cool about Seeq, and what I think is most cool about these use cases, are that it's not that one organization just buys Seeq and does one use case. They don't just come in and say, we saved $125,000 in nitrogen and we're done. What's great about Seeq is with that employee efficiency that we talk about there, each engineer is empowered to do 5 of these use cases, 10 of these use cases, 100 of these use cases, and that value really adds up. And not just knowing the value, but documenting the value and sharing it across your organization is what's going to help with that rapid adoption and acceleration of the technology. Again, create technology champions to own and steward the value delivered. Like I just mentioned, it's very important for you to internally document the value you're getting. And not just, what I often see, it goes to this last point, be agile and shift priorities as needed. Lots of times, especially when we're talking about technologies these days, teams want to run an end-to-end project. It has a start date, it has an end date, and at the end of it, we're done. Think of your digital transformation as a circle and delivering on some of this value that you get in the initial use cases, but always circling back and making sure you're either still adding value or if there's new applications to add value. Because if you view this as a start and an end date, just a project, you're going to find that some of those use cases might be rapidly taken advantage of in the first few months, but then you'll go look at it in 3 years and no one is using it. So it's very important that your management and governance use this as a cycle and you're always refreshing that strategy to tackle the newest problems. I just want to wrap up with this slide and highlight some of the points that we talked about and mention a few that we didn't. So again, it's important when you're trying to get just organizational change from end to end, from the operators at the plant floor to the managers that run the facility or above the facility, make something that's approachable to every skill set so everyone sees a way that they can use it and get value. The other thing that's important, and I didn't really mention this, but you probably saw it with some of the demos earlier today, when you're making investments in technology, it's became very clear that it's not one solution that's going to fix all problems. And so making sure you pick a solution that future-proofs any investments that you're going to make in your data ecosystem. Maybe you have multiple historians from buying or selling a plant, and you need to get access to all of that data. Maybe you have a vision with AWS in 3 years to put some of your data in the cloud. There's no reason you can't get value out of that data today by connecting it to it where it's at. But it is important that your digital solution has that ability to change with you once you've made those investments. I think with that, I will go ahead and wrap up and hand it back over for more of the customer presentation.